and welcome to Therabytes, where we bring you bite-sized episodes, each one a piece of the puzzle that helps to explain the therapy world, the research behind it all, and how it relates to families. My name is Dr. Dayna, physiotherapist and clinical lead at the Healthy Strides Foundation. It is my privilege to be hosting this podcast, one that is directed for families of children with neurodisabilities. We hope to be able to answer some of your questions through this format. To help us navigate our way through these big questions, we have the lovely, the one and only Kate co-hosting this podcast. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much, Dayna. As always, so great to be here. Very excited to hear about your Did You Know? You've told me it's a funny one for the kids.
It's a funny one. It's definitely one aimed for the kids because if you've been to Healthy Strides before, you'll see that we have these lovely decals or decals, however you want to say them, on our walls. Mm-hmm. And the most popular one is a big T-Rex.
Yes.
And kids know to come to the T-Rex. The boys like to put their finger up his nose for some reason. It's a common thing. And then also there's always big discussion about poo and farts. And so I thought,
that's a boy thing.
It's a typical thing, right?
All kid thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an all kid thing. Like
I
I recently bought a fart toy. Everyone loves it.
Yes.
Actually, me in particular. I think it's great.
It's hilarious.
So I found this really fun fact, and it seems to be quite well corroborated, that the largest piece of fossilized dinosaur poo was actually discovered to be over 30 centimeters long and over 2 liters in volume, and that came from a T-Rex turd.
Wow.
So, I mean, scientists are excited to see what they ate as a result of it.
Yeah.
That's not where my brain went. I just went, that is massive. And so the next time you have a 2 liters of anything, you can just show your kid and go, that's the size of a T-Rex turd.
Wow. I love how you say that. That's the size of a T-Rex turd.
Look, completely random, still very science related.
Love it.
But I know that there's drives home from school and they're just chatting about stuff, and kids love talking about dinosaurs. Mum, Dad, give them a fun fact about their turd.
Yeah. Then they'll go to school and tell everyone how smart my mum or dad is. They told me about T-Rex turds.
30 centimetres long and 2 litres in volume. Which, when I think about how big T-Rex is, I go, that doesn't seem that big. But anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, Dayna. As
You're
always,
very welcome.
So educational.
So educational. You know me. Oh, dear. Quick switch to something more useful.
Yes. Something a bit more serious. Dayna.
Yes.
Yourself and the team recently attended a conference, the AusACPDM. Got that right?
You did.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And I got to be here when you all came back very excited about what you were able to not only deliver at the conference, but what you learned from all the other therapists and the speakers that were there.
Yes.
And I also know there's been a few families that have stopped you and asked you, about the conference and what happened. And so I thought that's actually a really great subject for the podcast.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, so a really good opportunity for you today to tell us a little bit more, I guess share your key takeaways from the conference. So is it okay if I start with something that I think we all want to know?
Yes.
And that is what do we have to look forward to in the therapy and the treatment space for children with neurodisabilities?
Gosh, that's a great question. And that, at the end of the day, is why you go to a conference, to see what's out there, see what's great and emerging and what hope there is in future treatments. And the first part I'd like to be able to say is, it's exciting, but maybe not so exciting because it's the normal thing as well, is that really Healthy Strides is really sitting at that real front end when it comes to providing the best interventions available.
That's amazing.
It is so cool because what is really happening at the moment, what a lot of the talk is things that we kind of know a lot about already. It's like, how can we get kids moving well? Because we know that, exercise is medicine. But for so long, there's been so many blocks in going, well, how do we get kids with physical impairments really physically active? Like, how do we do that if they're in a wheelchair all day? Like, what do we do? So there was a lot of talk around just what that means from a participation perspective and what that means for the rest of their life. So we just know now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, being really active just is the most important thing for so many of our kids because it just opens up their world, not just now but in the future. Then the next part was about innovation and technology. Now, we're always really interested in what technology is going to bring. and it's all about efficiencies, really.
Okay.
So efficiencies in understanding data, so, really nerdy stuff like...
You'd love that.
Loved it so much because we can learn from each other so well, and we're doing a lot of that work already in Healthy Strides, like learning from each other. But then what role technology has in terms of developing new kind of toys or technology for like vision, what does artificial intelligence look like for that, and the role of machine learning. So it's just trying to get to the answers far faster. And we're finally at the point where we're really thinking about it now.
That's so good.
Really, really good. And there was some talks I went to as well that were looking at some intensive therapy models, which were really intensive, like, over 60 hours worth. And it's, from a scientific perspective, always interesting to know what that looks like, but it's not looking like by doing 60 hours gives you all that much improvement that you would think it was. Like,
that's a big commitment.
Massive,
because I'd want a very good output from that.
Right, yeah. And I think that's what they had sort of concluded when they compared some of the studies was if you do this amount of therapy, which is done over 2 weeks, compared to kids who didn't do that, there wasn't like there was a massive difference. One, it's because evidence-based interventions are actually really good anyway. So they were comparing to not people doing nothing. Comparing to people doing something. So we're generally doing better than we ever have before. But also, like doing lots of it over a period of 2 weeks, it doesn't mean that you're going to get all the improvements that you like to see.
Yeah.
So there's always this whole idea of, let's do lots, jam it all in just 2 or 3 weeks, go hard, do it all right now, 6 hours a day.
God.
Yeah, actually.
I'm exhausted just hearing about it.
I know, right? And like the poor therapist working all through that as well, because it's like...
And like with
it
the
takes
same
energy
client
to motivate.
as well, that's,
Yeah, so
it's a lot.
Good to see that being tested, because that's always been a question, like if you do lots, do you get more outcomes? And we really didn't see that across all of the outcome measures that were there. So it's good to know that number, it's not just about the number, it's like what you're actually doing and being really intentional about it and valuing life, like that real balance, which we talk about a lot, but that's truly backed by everything that we're seeing at the moment. Yeah.
That's so good.
It's really great. So everything that we're really aligned with, we don't want to be doing too much, but do enough to make a big change.
Yeah.
Use technology, AI and machine learning, use it well because you can get to the answer faster. It's really cool from that perspective.
That must have been so nice to walk away knowing that you guys are right up there doing all the right things. Yeah.
It was pretty lovely,
I have to say, knowing that I send my son here, I'm very happy to hear that as well. That's amazing.
Right?
That's incredible. So we're really, really lucky.
Yeah,
we're really lucky that you guys are here and that you're doing this.
It's amazing. And we had a lot of those discussions over there, like a lot of people saying, is there anything like you in other states? We're like, no. Do you want to start one in other states? I'm like, no. We love
I've seen
WA.
how busy you are already. I don't know how that would be possible. It would be great.
Right.
Absolutely.
But that's, I guess, it's been amazing to see what's been built over these last 6 years. Something that's been really homegrown, really meeting this need and really at the cusp of new developments. And that was the really cool thing. Like as a team reflecting on it, it was like, we're doing all the things that they want us to be doing. That would have been so good as a team. It was amazing.
For everyone to have that realisation together and come home with that camaraderie.
Yes. And the fact that the reason why we do what we do isn't to toot your own horn about it. It's to kind of go, yes, we're actually doing the best thing we can for all our kids. That was super cool.
That's incredible. That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, then I did have another question, but I feel like you might have answered that, but I'll ask it anyway in case you want to expand on it. And that is, who is leading the way when it comes to delivering therapy to children with neurodisability in Australia? And I guess how would you define that?
Okay. So I guess defining what we think is like the best and the most ideal. I think that comes to a lot of things. When it comes to providing the best interventions, you want great collaborators and collaborations. So any team that you want to work with or is your therapist, you want them to be really well linked in to, major hospitals, universities, where a lot of new research is being done. And that's so important because when you go off on your own and you do your own thing, it's really easy to be siloed and just be, really reinforcing what you're doing. But being able to be challenged by new ideas is actually a big and important part of being a great therapist. So when I look across the teams that do really well, and I'll definitely say us included,
yes,
is be connected with different universities and hospitals and have researchers from all different places involved. So we're part of big collaborations in research that represent people all over Australia.
Yeah.
So we're meeting frequently, we're talking about new trials, we're wanting to test the boundaries, but we're doing it together.
Awesome.
That can give you the confidence that a team is really providing the best outcome for you as well. So I think that's really important, when you're making your decisions about which therapist you want to see is like, who do you know? Who do you talk to? Who are you mentored by? Everyone needs a mentor.
Yeah.
I've got mentors. I've got people who I make sure I talk to keep accountable to what you're doing. That's a really important part.
That's really cool.
It.
And really good to know for the families who don't have access to Healthy Strides in WA to help them when they're making their decisions about where they should be seeking therapy.
That's right.
And help. So that's really good. Thank you.
So important. Yeah. And like just making sure that your therapist has a really clear link and a line to your doctors.
Yeah.
They know who they are and they know how to contact them. And it's that collaboration. And we've talked about it before. NDIS is wonderful, but it's meant that things have become quite fragmented as well. You've got services from all different places and who's talking to each other. You want to make sure that you're actually all talking to each other. So that's a really good way to tell that your team is performing at the level that you want them to for your child.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that then brings me to thinking about before we met you and before we were part of Healthy Strides. And Dr. Google played a big part in our early learning. It led us down many rabbit holes of information. I was wasting a lot of time, a lot of energy and a lot of money on the wrong things. And, we travelled across the country for therapy that I had read somewhere. It was really good. A few other people had endorsed it. It was really hard to access. And I now reflect on it, think, I wish I stopped to think, why is this so hard to access? Why is no one else offering this service?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a good thought. Yes.
Yeah. And so I guess, we were guided in the right direction by our medical team, and that was how we found you, thankfully. And we had some great conversations that educated us on those things. So I guess my question is around the families starting out, the families that are doing the doctor Googling and the researching. Where would they find trustworthy research online or anywhere else that you can recommend to better educate themselves and to take on, for those who want to take on more of that education? Where would they find that? Where is a trusted source for us all?
It is so hard, actually. This is why it's such a big point of conversation. So one great source for people who've got children with cerebral palsy is my CP Guide. That's a free online platform. They were at the conference and they have great resources along so many different topics for you to look up and find information on. And they want to be really that one-stop shop for like that information hub. So I would definitely start there and then contact them if you want to find out more about different topics. But the point I want to make about this as well is if you're searching and it seems too good to be true, you do need to stop and think about it for a little bit too, because I would say going to these conferences, now I've been to a few even in the last few years, and these are all real experts from all over the world, right? We bring our best to this platform. And so there isn't really anything new that we don't know about, or there's no really a treatment that we don't know about. And if we're not talking about it at these conferences, it's because, one, there's no research in it, or two, we just know it doesn't even work, so we're not even going to go there. So sometimes you get these really left field, like snake oils, these different interventions that the hospital doesn't carry out, like they don't do it. Or you've got to pay an exorbitant amount for it, for only a few people are trained in it. To be honest, if it was effective and it was true and it was real, we'd all be trained in it.
See, that's what I've realised. Just realised it a bit late, but I got there.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like it, right? Like, oh, this one special thing that only this person provides.
And you'll do anything. Like, you're in the mindset of, I will do anything. I don't care what it costs or where I have to go. Like, you want that miracle one special thing.
Yeah, and it's such a powerful tool that people can use to manipulate as well, because you're a parent, you want the best for your child. They're your precious, beautiful child. You want them to have the best. And we all believe in the same thing, but sometimes there'll be some avenues that will take advantage of that desire, and it's not cool, but it's not regulated either. So you can access all of these things, but it's sometimes we often think that if we find it on the internet or it's just this obscure thing that it must be real, it must be true. No one else knows about it. But honestly, we're all really motivated to find the best thing out there. And if it was out there, we'd know about it. We'd go down the path to find out more.
Yeah.
And that's really important because it's not just about it being effective. We want it to be safe.
Yes.
You can't go to something and be made worse.
Yes.
Right? And I think you want to make sure it's been tested so you're safe.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
That's all really good information to know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad that was useful. But definitely go look up my CP guide. We'll put a link for that in our run sheet notes,
Absolutely.
actually.
Yeah.
So useful. I wasn't aware, to be honest, about the breadth of information that was provided on this.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I know I've definitely gone to it for other things, but that's amazing to know.
Yeah, really good hub. And look, if you do ever have questions, we never want you out there just wondering. Send us an email.
Yes,
let us look into it for you. If you're not sure, and we can talk about it and go, look, we looked it up. This is what we found, and be really objective about it because, that's our role and responsibility to help you with that information.
Absolutely. And if you're not sure about it, then there's plenty of other people not sure about
That's
it.
right.
That is what I have learned in this role already.
That's right.
We're all
It's true.
wondering the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good question. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about conference. I could talk about it for days, and I'm being very restrained here. So everyone must take note of that.
Well, I appreciate what you managed to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And to all of our listeners, I hope you enjoyed that. Please do send in those questions if you do have any interventions that you're looking into that you want more about. So, write to us. But otherwise, talk to you again soon. Bye.
Thank you.